Okay, again, this is the third part of Contact Report 31. Billy's been hopping, skipping, and jumping all around the universe, and they're getting ready to do a 7-minute jump in the timelessness. So we'll take it from there. Semjase, you have already made your pictures from here, and we have time again to talk. We are here in position for the Great Leap. Billy, are we already in the Andromeda Galaxy then? Semjase, that is what you just photographed. Billy, super. But what are we going to speak about? First, I would like to experience these 7 minutes of timelessness before I try to think about anything. I would prefer if we could discuss something else. Semjase, certainly. Billy, good. Would it not be possible for you to give me some lines written by you? Semjase, I do not understand that. Billy, I mean, if you could write some words on a sheet of paper which I could show my group. Semjase, why that? What purpose would it serve? I see no need for it. Billy, do not be like that, though. All of them would enjoy it if they had something personal from you to see and hold in their hands. Semjase, is that so important? Billy, for some of us, yes, it surely is so. Semjase, how should I arrange it then? I do not have the necessary utensils, and besides, I do not master your writing very well. We have completely different characters ourselves. Billy, that is not so important. I can even help you a bit with the writing. If I assist you, it should go well. You just need to ask if you have trouble with any word. But since you have spoken of your script, what does it look like? Can you show me some of it? Semjase, sure. Look, you can see the characters of our alphabet in these letters here. Billy, may I copy them? And will you explain the pronunciation? Semjase, sure. And in parentheses, I take the notepad from my shoulder bag and sketch these completely foreign to me characters on the paper, always together with the pronunciations as Semjase explains them to me. This takes only a few minutes. Billy, now I have it, Semjase, but I still lack the umlauts, etc. Are there any such pronunciation keys of this kind? Semjase, in our language, these do not exist. And here's a picture of her, what Billy drew of her symbols, basically her alphabet. Billy, good. I also do not understand much about umlauts, consonants, and whatever else. Let us leave this and consider what you would like to write. You see, I have made provisions for this and have brought paper and a marker with me. I thought this writing device would be best. Can you handle it? Semjase, sure. I am only not sure of what I should write. Billy, oh, just anything. Semjase, that is a very broad notion. Billy, of course, but something will surely come to you. What if you were to simply write a short letter to our group? Semjase, that sounds good, but what should I write? Billy, girl, please do not be so complicated. Simply write some nice words, words that come from you and not from me, as if I had dictated them to you. Semjase, I will try. How I should begin, however, is not clear to me yet. Billy, typical woman. Semjase, what do you mean by that? Billy, quite simply, in the manner that you women can sometimes be rather helpless creatures when you have to do certain things that are somehow strange to you. And in that, there seems to be no difference between you and the female Wesson of the earth. Until now, I had always seen and experienced that in all matters, you were and still are completely different from the women of earth, which is exactly the manner I imagined a real woman should be in her form of thinking, acting, etc., and not simply effeminate. Now I suddenly see this characteristic in you and also recognize certain things which are deeply feminine. This does not bother me by any means, but it shows that you are only a normal human being, a woman who also demonstrates a certain amount of purely feminine traits. And the way I see it, it must probably be the same across the whole universe, that the femininity can probably not be denied by a single life form in the universe. Semjase, I... Ptaah interrupts Semjase before she can answer. You are very profound and insightful. It is as you say. Semjase, I would not want to disagree. And then in parentheses, I make the interesting observation that Semjase's face is suddenly seized with a slight red, obviously in reaction to the words just spoken. Secretly, I am delighted by this, for now I know for certain that she is influenced by feelings, even though she has always been cleverly able to hide them. Apparently, one only had to touch the right place to make her lose control over her feelings. Semjase, please do not... She has obviously picked up on my thoughts. Billy, no offense intended, Semjase, quite the contrary. From this observation of mine, my esteem for you as a human has increased dramatically. Semjase, it is, however, not always good to know the feelings of others. Billy, you are indeed right with that, but do you believe that you were in a position to conceal yours from me? Semjase, I had actually thought so, but now I know that I have not succeeded. You did not let yourself be fooled. Billy, why should I have? Semjase, perhaps because I am a woman? Billy, that is nonsense, Semjase. Please let me explain that such feelings are not related to gender. Ptaah, that is a very profound word of truth. And we're going to read the letter that Semjase wrote to the group, to Billy's group of people, 17th July, 1975. Dear group members, with your really unacquainted script, I make an effort to write some words according to the wish of your friend, and to say, trust in our words and teachings, because when they appear strange to you, they contain in themselves the deepest truth that, unfortunately, in all of your writings since ages ago have become falsified and must become newly announced in today's time and with great striving. Through the existing false teachings, however, the truth appears anew, and strange and also harsh words push through. Yet the truth must break through, and you should all help it to victory. See that neither work nor effort brings down the cornerstones for victory. Fulfill your mission, trust in us and our common great and wise friend who, out of all of us, has the most difficult mission to fulfill. Stand by him always and give him the best possible help, as alone the burden would be too great for him. In the name of us all, I give you a great thank you, and however, I thank you for your previous troubles, even if everything is not always followed exactly according to our determinations. Take the trouble in the future, however, to follow everything after precise orders, and do not trouble yourselves in thoughts that we can only have contact from our side with our mutual friend. In love, I give you my greetings, Semjase. Okay, Billy, thanks. Ptaah, perhaps Semjase might agree? Semjase, please let us not speak of this anymore. Come on, give me the paper and pen. In parentheses, I understand what stirs Semjase, and so I give them to her without a word, and she starts writing without hesitation. Semjase finishes her letter, which contains some spelling mistakes, and I have to help her a little with just a few words. Billy, you have written everything very well, Semjase. This makes me very pleased. Semjase, is that so? Billy, of course, Semjase. Otherwise I would not say it. Anyway, thanks a lot, but now I have one more question about your script. How old is it actually, and where does it come from? Semjase, that is very easy to explain. because these characters that we use today are only 11,000 years old. We took them over at that time from our ancestors who lived on the earth. Our old characters, so did you catch that? Their ancestors used to live on the earth. Our old characters were very complicated, while these now are very simple. It was developed by several of our scientists who were on the earth at that time, who used constellations as seen from Earth as templates. They connected certain constellations with lines and obtained a character shape as a result. Our script consists of small circles and lines, being that the circles represent stars and the lines just connect them. Billy, that is interesting, and your explanation is enough for me. I am only surprised by the fact that this script is no longer known on Earth. Semjase, it has simply fallen into oblivion after it was adopted by your Earth human ancestors and was used during a few centuries, during which, however, it was modified many times. Only a few of the Earth human alphabets today have characters which trace back to ours, before they were modified and made unrecognizable. Billy, that is amazing. So the writing was not developed and put into use by the Earth humans themselves? Semjase, if you speak of the earthbound forefathers of your human races and not of the sons of heaven, then you are correct. Because the script was first brought to earth by the sons of heaven, that is, by those who were actually responsible for the original arising of today's earth humans. Things like this are incredible. Semjase, the earth humans still do not know many things. But now we have to interrupt our conversation for a while again because I see that my father has finished his preparations for the great leap. Billy, of course, Semjase. In your speech, however, I notice that you speak of my father. That seems so familiar to me and truly earthly human. Semjase, were you expecting something else? These things remain always the same, as long as life forms are material. A change from this will only appear on the purely spiritual levels. And since I am already speaking of this, I want to ask you something before we jump into null time, the timeless, or in the eternity, as you call it, for 7 minutes, which will happen in a few minutes. The spiritually fine, sensitive-based feelings there are completely different from the ones that are normal in material life. For that reason, it is also not possible for us to feel in a spiritually fine, sensitive manner and to receive your thoughts and feelings, because we are still in the process of consciousness-related and spiritual evolution. Therefore, neither I nor my father nor any of us will be able to reproduce for you later your feelings and thoughts so that you may write them down yourself. If nevertheless you wish to do this, there is a technology-based possibility. Billy, of course, I am interested in remembering all of my spiritually fine, sensitive-based feelings and thoughts, but I am not able to do this myself. Semjase, yes, of course. But you know that your remembering ability is not so highly developed that you can repeat longer memories word for word. That is also not the case with us, which is why we need technical means to reproduce words from symbols and impulses, which then can be transmitted to you telepathically, and which you are able to write down in your own words then that you form from the impulses and symbols. For this reason, the words that are written are not exactly and literally the ones that were spoken, but they still represent the exact meaning of what was said, which you, according to the impulses and symbols, dress in your own words. Billy, I understand. What possibilities can you offer me then? Naturally, I am interested in writing everything in detail later. Semjase, that is not very complicated. The cabins which you can see there beside the screens are equipped with all necessary means to capture spiritually fine, sensitive based feelings and thoughts. The collected impulses are automatically stored in a special computer and may later be reproduced by it according to convenience. The adjustable and fully adaptable helmet that you see there is fitted with very fine probes that also encompasses a special sensor network in the form of a fine mesh, which intercepts all types of energies and converts them into impulses, which are then forwarded to the computer where they are registered. The captured energy from the thoughts, feelings of a spiritual, fine, sensitive nature, etc., is grounded in very high values and can only be held by this equipment. The energies of the spiritually fine, sensitive based feelings and thoughts exist in this form of transmission only in the realm of hyperfrequencies. To be able to register your thoughts, feelings, and spiritually fine, sensitive feelings, it is just necessary that you sit yourself in the chair and lay your head under the helmet cap, which will then adapt itself automatically to you. Billy, is there really nothing else to do? Semjase, no, that is all. Now, sit yourself in the cabin. The great journey begins in 23 seconds. Billy, at your service, Miss General. Parentheses. Following Semjase's instructions, I promptly sit down in the extremely comfortable chair inside one of the 3 cabins. As soon as I am seated, a peculiar helmet moves over my head and settles down slightly. It is so large that it encompasses my whole head, only leaving my face open, so that I can see out from it and watch everything. But the helmet does not touch my head, rather lying equally close all around and staying about 1.5 centimeters from my skull, as I can feel when I place a forefinger between the helmet and my head. Now I am tense and expectant, for I wonder what is going to happen. Ptaah and Semjase manipulate the console, and now I can again see how the fantastic starry sky is changing. The initially calmly passing by constellations are again transformed into strokes, and after a few seconds begin to blur. And in the next moment, they are no more than a whitish, milky mass, a shimmering mass like I have experienced in all previous hyperleaps. But now, suddenly, this milky, whitish glow is gone, and there is a complete darkness. What is this? Now everything is suddenly bathed in a golden color, and then everything is suddenly silvery. But, oh man, this radiant light, this radiant brightness. Everything is bathed in radiant light. Everything exists only as radiant light. It is stronger than all the suns of the universe put together. Man, oh man, this bright light, and it does not even hurt me in the eyes. Man, this is the eternity, the bright, radiant light of eternity. Look, there exists nothing else but the eternal. Man, how splendid. Splendid? Man, that is the splendor itself. Eternity and splendor are one and the same. Why do I separate them? Why do I put the eternal in terms of time? Time does not exist, and eternity is splendor. Man, what is this? This calm, this peace. What is it? How did I get here? Love. Oh, this deep, all-embracing love. There is nothing but love. Splendid. Oh, yes, I am in the eternity. Just how can I forget that? This radiant light, this more splendorous, this love in everything. Oh, yes, I am a human being, but how can I? Why do I forget that? I am just a guest in eternity, and these lovely voices that call me by. Where do they come from? I see nothing but radiant, soothing light. Who is calling for me? I do not see anything. Man, I am no more. I do not see myself. I am eternity in the eternity. Oh, how is this? I cannot see with my eyes anymore, and yet I can see everything. And I cannot hear with my ears, and yet I hear everything. Yes, love. How powerful it is. How vast, infinite, and splendorous. Everything is love and splendor. Just why does the human being not want to understand that? How? Oh, yes, but that cannot be. I am not a human being. I am the eternity. This light, this radiant light, such profound love, calm, and peace it has. Oh, now I understand. I cannot see or hear, but I feel it in a spiritually fine, sensitive manner. I feel, I live, I feel spiritually fine, sensitively. How beautiful is this peace? Am I not human? Am I not the eternity? Who is calling for me? Interesting. I sense the hearing without needing the ears, and I see without needing the eyes. I feel the seeing and I feel the hearing. Where am I? Why is this like this? Oh yes, the eternity. Now I understand. I am the eternity. Just why was everything so unclear? Just why did I not find the connection? Just why did I forget that I am in the eternity as a human being? Just why can I only think clearly now? Think? I rather feel spiritually, find sensitively, I feel. How is this possible? And from where do these voices come from, which I cannot hear with my ears, but only spiritually, find sensitively feel? Only. Why do I only spiritually, find sensitively feel it? Is it just not like that? Hearing with the ears is so painful and materially bound. Hearing via spiritually fine sensitive feeling does not hurt, and seeing via spiritually fine sensitive feeling does not hurt either. It simply penetrates in me, soft and full of love. It lets me hear and see. But this call, who calls me then? Who is calling me? I feel that someone is calling me. Who is there? This light, this splendorous, radiant light, the call comes from this light. Is it the call of eternity? Oh, but how hard it is not to think that I am only a guest in eternity, that I am a human being. How painful it is, this humanity. I do not want to be that anymore. I want to stay here forever as eternity in the eternity. This call of eternity, this deep love. Yes, I want to stay here. I will never go back. In here is the being. In German is Sinn, the highest level of being existence. The real being. I do not understand this call. How can I be here as a human being? Am I not a human being? No, I am not. Now I know it. I am me. I am being. Just how could I perceive myself in a fine spiritual manner? German word for this manner of perceiving perception is encompassed in the noun Empfindungen, and the verb is empfinden, as a human being. How could I perceive myself as a stranger here in a fine spiritual manner who has to return to a material world? I am here and I belong here. Something wanted to mislead me, and it inspired unreal, fine spiritual perceivings in me. But why? I must have already left the material life and died a long time ago. But how long has my transition to here lasted? What have I lived through? There are so many confusing things. There is Semjase and Ptaah and many other things, but those are just dreams. Dreams of the dead? Would this perhaps be always so? Is that the transition from physical being to being? Would this conversation be dominated by those dreams of the dead, perhaps to mold the transition correctly, to reveal the fear of the unknown? I do not know, or maybe everything was real. No, this is not so, because now I am eternity and I am perceiving it in a fine spiritual manner. These were surely only dreams of the dead, dreams of crossing from material life to real being. Death is only the intermediate space, the intermediate station between life and being. Death? That is incorrect. It is not so. But how do I know that? Who tells me that? Oh yes, I fine spiritually perceive it from this mysteriously call from the splendorous, radiant light of love, from eternity itself. But I am not eternity myself. Oh, of course, that is why I can understand the call. What do I care then about material life and intermediate stations? Just why? I do not understand it because it does not affect me. I am being now and I have everything behind me. Finally, I am being. Finally, I am me. Yes, I feel the call, but why just now and not then? Yes, it is the call. It is the call of eternity. There are no more individual beings. There is only the great unity of the whole. Why did I not know that? I do not understand it, but why should I understand it? All is really so, yes. But what? Yes, it is so. I dissolve, but why? Yes, the being is vast. Why are these fine spiritual perceivings so strange? Why do I think of me? It is not me, it is being. It is the great unity of the whole. How could I only fine spiritually perceive of myself? Would this arise from thinking of the long past material lives? It must be so, because in here there are only fine spiritual perceivings in the great unity of the whole. Now I arrive to the understanding that the self has become consciousness. The self is inexistent and has become being. Everything is only consciousness and fine spiritual perceiving. That is the understanding. That is the being. Now I understand the fine spiritual perception of the strange call, which now is not strange anymore. It is really the call of eternity, the call of the being. And now the fine spiritual perception is fulfilled with the deepest understanding. Now calm and peace are no more than infinite love, because from it emerge calm and peace. Then why does the human being not understand this? Why does she only seek love in unreal truths? But why do these fine spiritual perceptions exist in the great seeing, the great being? Why would the great unity bring such fine spiritual perceptions into awareness? Oh yes, the fine spiritual perception understands. The eternity is the existence and monitors what takes place in the inexistence, the material life forms. It monitors the life of the human being. So that is why. That is why the fine spiritual perception penetrates the consciousness. The fine spiritual perception offers the possibility of conscious recognition, and the being of the eternity monitors all the events of the inexistence. Therefore, also the fine spiritual perception of the human beings. But what does the human being know about it? She strays on dark paths, trapped in irrational teachings, and fails to recognize the truth of the real consciousness of the eternity. How mistaken are the human beings about truth, which base everything on ignorance. Oh, how painful this is. Why does the human being just not want to understand the real truth and the love? Why does she keep themselves imprisoned in cultist heresies and tread the path of destruction with them? Strange, the fine spiritual perception does not register a deity. How mistaken are the human beings, human teachings? They are just an evil delusion which leads to destruction. Just why does the human being not want to be eternity and to become real being? Why does she not free themselves of cultist heresies and run to their doom? Human, why do you do that? See here the eternity, see the real being, and see, here is the great and spirit consciousness, the great unity of the whole. Above the consciousness of the being stands only the creation, and it is infinitely vaster and more powerful in its awareness of the existence than this level of consciousness. This awareness is the final stage of all spirit levels before becoming one with the creation. Here is the last stage of the possible relative completion before the oneness with the creation. This is the last stage of the final truth and the fulfillment of the relative completion. This is the stage of being in the consciousness of the existence in the fulfillment of the relative completion. This is the stage of the great unity in the oneness, and here all the self and all the personality is overcome. The consciousness is the call of the eternity and the eternal call of the truth and the all-embracing love. And what can be greater than it? Because everything is born out of it. It is the being of the creation and the being of all being. Besides it, truly nothing exists. Just why does the human being not understand this? Why does she chase after irrational teachings, and why do they let themselves be captured by heresies? Nothing exists outside of the creation, and there is no other creation besides it. It alone is the truth of the universe, and it alone is consummate spirit consciousness, perfect love, and consummate being. It is not shaped and not formed. It is spiritual consciousness, spiritual love, and consummate spiritual being alone. And outside of it is nothing. Human being, why do you not recognize this truth? Why do you let yourself be misled by cultist heresies? And why do you place human creatures and many other things next to it, which should take the place of the being of the creation? Human being, why do you foreordain a deity in place of the being of creation? And why do you curse the being of the creation through the nomination of a God, which mendaciously and fraudulently should be the being of the creation? Human being, how evil you are in your arrogance, and how can you presume yourself to be above the creation, or to equate it with the creatures created by it, by appointing them as gods and imagining them as the creation? How you have become vicious in your thinking, irrational and autocratic. O human being, you advance in very evil paths which lead to destruction, yet by no means will you find in them the way to the real being of the creation. Here is the eternity, and here only the truth rules, and so also only the truth is expressed. O human being, how great and infinite is the fine spiritual perception of pain at your ignorance. Despite endless love, a thorn of pain resonates through the fine spiritual perception of the consciousness and makes the splendor of the radiant light melancholic. Recognize the love, still recognize the truth, human being, so that you too experience the splendor of happiness in the existence of the eternity. You, human being of the distant material world, human being of the earth, hear the call of eternity. Let yourself be instructed about the truth and use the power of the Spirit and consciousness to recognize the love. Make it your own and thereby flow in the consciousness of the eternal being. Work your way consciously up to the level of the radiant light and receive here the conscience of the great oneness in the unity. Realize the falsity of all cultist heresies and deities, and realize alone the path of the light and the universal love. Realize the way of the truth, the only one which leads to the splendor of the creation. It alone is all-encompassing and all-magnificent. Conceive that, human being, and allow only the truth to be the real truth, because only it leads to the kingdom of eternity. Conceive. The word of the truth is imperishable, because it is fine spiritual perception and recognition in the being of the consciousness of the great unity. The heavens and worlds will perish, but the words of the truth will never perish. They are, oh no, it is so strange. The earth human knows only half the truth, for she is misguided by cultist heresy. Yes, but why then? Great unity in consciousness is what? It is so strange with fine spiritual perception, I feel so painfully for the earth human. Why is that? Oh, it is. No, do not. You go away from me. What is it now? I hear your call from somewhere, and it is going away. Why do you go? Oh, the light, its radiance decreases. Why is that? I am me again. No, that should not be. No, I do not want to go back. No, I belong here. I know I am thinking again. I no longer am perceiving in a fine spiritual manner. Oh, I understand the light. The radiance is gone now, and already it shimmers, gold and now silver. No, I do not want to. Leave me. I. I hang in the cabin chair as if I had been executed and stare forward. I do not want and cannot understand being here. I do not want to return to here at all. I want to remain in the beyond, and yet I am here. Just why? I do not understand the world anymore. Why, oh why? The beyond is love and seen, and what is here at all? These burdens, these worries, problems, and needs that cannot be true. I want to go back. Oh, this misery, this sad reality of material life. Oh man, this sad misery, this life, this misery. Just why did I come back? Man, oh man, I could howl. Oh, just how can I go back? There must be a way. It is not easy to. It is not easy to. ... Oh, what is that now? Man, what is that? Oh, what? Oh, is that you? What are you doing here, Semjase? Oh, why are you shaking me like that? What is happening? Semjase, do you understand? Billy, what should I understand? I understand nothing. Semjase, we have reached our destination, but we have done a big hyperjump, and the rematerialization was delayed by 7 minutes to allow you a penetration into null time, into the timeless. Semjase, we have reached our destination, but we have done a big hyperjump, and the rematerialization was delayed by 7 minutes to allow you a penetration into null time, into the timelessness. Billy, timelessness? Semjase, do you still not understand? Billy, oh yes, of course, pitiful. How very pitiful. Why have you brought me back here? Semjase, You like to joke, but we have all been inside the timelessness and would all like to stay there. But we must not do that because we have to complete the path of evolution step by step, as you also must do, dear friend. I know very well the pain you feel now, as we have all experienced the same thing. But we have become accustomed to it and know that we can under no circumstances stay there before we have reached that stage of consciousness which belongs to the great consciousness level. I am very sorry for you that you feel such great misery in you, as it can very easily be seen from your face. But you will overcome it because you are able to think about it very realistically. It was for that reason that we could take responsibility for this experiment. A life form that is weaker in spirit and in consciousness would without a doubt fall into madness upon returning. Billy, Semjase, it is all very difficult, I know, but you will really overcome it. Come on, rise up now. So, yes. Billy, Semjase, Semjase, come. Ptaah, this will surely help him. Just hold him tight. Semjase presses me against her and wraps her arms around me. Through her odd suit, I feel the warmth of her body as very soothing and invigorating. So she keeps me pressed against her for a few minutes, and I feel that my vital spirits slowly return. Now I feel truly recovered and strong enough to stand on my feet again. Billy, thanks, Semjase, many thanks. Slowly she lets go of me and observes me very closely, while a loving smile drifts across her already beautiful face, making it even more beautiful. Ptaah, such thoughts are worthy of you. Ptaah laughs kindly. Evidently he has picked up my thoughts. Billy, thanks. Where actually are we now? The sky is so empty and I practically see no stars anymore. Ptaah, we have reached our destination. We are almost to the end of the material universe. Until we reach the barrier, we will go through completely empty space, respectively, the outer creation belt up to the displacement belt. Up to that point, there are now not only a few million kilometers, but many billions of light years. So we leave the actual material universe, respectively, the solid state matter universe belt, and go into the transformation belt and beyond, up to the very end of our Dern universe, where across a barrier, respectively, a universal barrier, where we will then create a passageway to the Dahl universe. The Dahl universe is where Asket comes from. Billy, fantastic. But tell me now, why have I had so many thoughts in the great unity of the null time? They were only 7 minutes according to your information, but I have thought more than it is possible in 7 minutes. Semjase, you have thought no more. You have only fine spiritually perceived. In the null time, in the timeless, only fine spiritual perception exists in the great unity. You were yourself no more, but only a tiny part of the whole great oneness. And in this great unity, the fine spiritual perception penetrated into you. Billy, I was able to analyze that. That is right. Only at the beginning did I notice a certain I force, but then this dissolved in the infinite level and mass of the eternity. Semjase, is that really so? Billy, of course, otherwise I would not say it. Ptaah, it is the truth. I know it from his thoughts. You have to be very deep thinking, otherwise you would not have been able to recognize it. Even many of our race need several stays in the timelessness to be able to recognize this truth. You originate astonished stirrings in me. Billy, thanks for the flowers, but now it will not be so bad again. Semjase, this is again one of your expressions which should imply exactly the opposite, but it is really extraordinarily much that you were able to recognize. What do you mean? Semjase directs this question to her father. Ptaah, you speak from my sense, and therefore it will be necessary to check all the registered spiritually fine perceptions so as not to reveal knowledge to the earth humans which they still cannot cope with. Billy, should this mean that later certain things will not be transmitted? Ptaah, we cannot avoid doing so, because if in the timelessness you were already in a position to realize the truth of the great unity, then you have realized many other truths which the immature earth human is not ready to harvest yet. Therefore you must later only mention and talk about all those things which we transmit to you. Ptaah, or Billy, aha, so once again a muzzle. But what about the fact that now I am still able to recall very many impressions and feeling-based perceptions of a spiritually fine nature? If you intend to eliminate these from me, then it bounces off a brick wall. Ptaah, that is not what is spoken of. You have shown us more than enough that secrets are very well preserved with you, and that you can really keep them. Therefore, we see no need to eliminate any data in you, neither now nor ever afterwards, unless this should be your own special wish. So they're not going to erase his memory. Billy, I am very honored by your opinion, Ptaah. Ptaah, you are worthy of this honor. Billy, let go of the flower throwing at once. Rather, explain to me what should we actually do in the doll universe. Semjase has told me that she has a certain task to carry out here. Semjase, let yourself calmly be surprised, dear friend. In about 50 minutes, you will understand everything and surely will also feel great joy. Billy, good. As I see, we are flying with tremendous speed through the increasingly emptier space, and in here there are no stars in the way, so to speak. Only far ahead I see that star which is now becoming bigger and bigger, and far behind it I can see 5 small blue dots. What star is that, and what are the blue dots? Ptaah, that is Galtos, the last big star in this part of the material universe. Being twice as large as your homeworld, it has a very big and intense inherently luminosity. The blue dots discernible far behind it are also stars. They belong to the self-radiant blue stars which generate very intense light. You may not be able to see all of them with the naked eye, but it is not just 5 but 11 stars. If you want, you may of course take pictures of them. Billy, gladly. I will make the pictures directly through the cupola. I will swap a bit, taking some through your view screen and then simply through the cupola. That way I can see later which photographs come out better. I wonder which method will produce the best photos. Ptaah, that lies fully within your judgment. You may do as you like. Billy, thanks. What about the blue stars over there? How big are they, and is life possible on them? Ptaah, they are no bigger than your homeworld, although this kind of star is normally 5 to 6 times larger than the Earth. They are as inhospitable and hostile to life as any sun and as the great planets in the solar system, such as Jupiter, Saturn, and Uranus. The gravity alone allows no life on these stars, and not even any spiritual life forms are located on them. Side note here, they talk about stars, but I think they're talking about planets as well. They seem to refer to planets like Jupiter as a star. I think anything that has a body that rotates around it, I think they're calling a star. But anyway, the gravity alone allows no life on these stars, and not even any spiritual life forms are located on them. In 97% of all cases, they are as completely devoid of higher life like your Sun and the planets Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, etc. In a few cases, however, where life exists on such stars, the existing life forms are exceedingly small, where the total size of thermobacteria is usually not exceeded. The gravitational force of such stars would crush larger forms. But, of course, this varies from planet to planet or from star to star, while the atmosphere itself plays no role because different life forms also live in different atmospheres. Not all life forms breathe oxygen like we pure humans do. Billy, but with us, it is always said that very large planets or stars would also be enlivened by correspondingly much larger life forms if life already exists on them. Ptaah. This only happens in certain and distinct circumstances. In this, the scientists of the Earth are subject to a nasty error. If life existed, for example, on your planets Jupiter, Saturn, and Uranus, then the forms of life, or forms of human or otherwise higher life, would have on the one hand to be semi-material only, and on the other hand to be extremely small. So it is absolutely not the case that size must necessarily be overcome by size. In this particular case, girth can only be overcome by smallness, but only in very exceptionally sturdy forms. On your planets Jupiter, Saturn, and Uranus, both large and small life forms, with the exception of bacteria, etc., would never be viable because the size of the planets and their atmospheres and consistency make this impossible. As you know, however, with the exception of bacteria, etc., these planets on your system are not home to any life of either material or spiritual form. Billy, I was informed of this fact, yes, and I was also able to verify it at the spot, where I also noticed that not all of these so-called planets are actual planets. It may seem somewhat stupid to you when I address a question to you about the stars and planets. I am well aware myself of the difference between stars and planets, but this would surely be of interest to other human beings. Could you therefore explain the difference between stars and planets? Ptaah. That can be easily and very, very quickly explained because planets are solid and not gaseous, cosmic bodies which have practically no inherent luminosity and which receive their light by the conversion of the incoming solar radiation. Stars are gaseous and energy-converting cosmic bodies which consequently have an inherent luminosity and generate their light from the emanating processes within their own body. Both are inhabitable for life forms. Planets as well as stars, if atmospheric and other conditions permit it, whereby on stars, respectively suns, as a rule, only thermobacteria or thermobiocell life is possible. So I'm wrong there. They're saying that planets are solid, whereas stars are gaseous, and stars illuminate themselves, whereas planets just absorb light from other stars. Okay, Billy. And what about the stars, respectively, the suns, which are half planets? Are these also inhabitable for any higher thermal life forms? Are they perhaps only sun formations on the outer shell, while on the inside inhabitable planets exist, as is often claimed by some earthlings? Ptaah, what makes you say that? Billy, oh, I have read such assertions in some publications. A man by the name of Jacob Lorber, for example, has written such things decades or even a century ago, also about Saturn, the moon, and other planets, etc. Through Semjase, I was in the meantime able to experience and determine by myself on the ground, however, that everything had neither hand nor foot, and that the man had just let his boundless imagination run loose. About others who also wrote books like these or similar, I could find in the course of this year the same thing. When Semjase brought me to these planets, and I was able to search thoroughly with her help. Ptaah, I understand. Unfortunately, there are very many humans on the earth who write such books and other nonsensical writings. And as you have realized, it is not more than the product of exuberant human imaginations, mostly related to delusions from some religious influences. This is unfortunately a very common malady with the earth humans. So is also the fantasy interpretation with respect to livability on your sun only a delusion of religious fanatics and fantasists, because not a single sun in the universe correlates to these fantastic assertions. Billy, good. That is almost exactly what I was thinking. But how is it with the claim that some humans would receive messages from angels or inspired by God, etc., with God standing as the creator of the universe, of the stars, respectively, the suns and the worlds, as well as all living creatures, etc.? Can that be seen? Ptaah, in no cases do these alleged inspirations correspond to the truth, and they are also never linked to so-called angels or gods or to a form of truth. It is clear that such claims often have religious information. Religions of the type discussed exist only on your earth. Nowhere else in the universe are they present in this erroneous and confused form. Also, in all other universes known to us, there are no religions of the earthly kind. This is truly limited to your earth. The earth religions have probably been carried by space travelers to other cosmic bodies, but for studying purposes only. On the other hand, however, it is taught on many worlds in this universe how deadly religion can be for a life form, where the earth with its existing or past religions serves as a bad example. So we're serving as an example to the rest of the universe. Billy, you are saying that not a single world in the entire universe is dominated by one or more misguided and confused religions except the earth? Ptaah, I have just explained that. With the exception of your earth, there exists no religion of this kind in this or another universe. Billy, those are very big words, Ptaah. It is said on the earth, especially among the Christians, that Emmanuel, whom they call Jesus Christ, is, so to speak, the actual master of the world and the universe. He is supposed to be God incarnate, where this God is regarded as the creation. What do you say about this? Ptaah, we know about these human delusions on your world. Alone, the idea of a Christ being and a Christ consciousness corresponds to a very evil and auscultated delusion of the earth humans, and a very ill-natured presumption, because if these things would have happened or would still happen in the future, which is absolutely impossible, because it truly is only a fantasy of the delusional earth humans, then with absolute probability the race would be given the task of disseminating a religion would not be the earth humans. Since many millennia on many worlds in the universe, the earth human stands in the entire universe as a purely materialistic developed life form, which solely represents a life form so deeply addicted to materialism that every consciousness-based evolution over millennia has been detrimental to this degree. On many of our own as well as other foreign worlds, it is known that the earth human condemns any reasonable consciousness-based evolution and develops himself herself only in malicious materialism and diverse religious delusions. And so it would be a paradox of the first order if, from all possible choices, a race so manifoldly incompetent in all consciousness-based areas would be chosen for a task of universal significance. But the Earth human, despite this fact, represents on the one hand an immense arrogance, and on the other hand it bears witness to his or her autocratic megalomania, which in both these forms cannot easily or not at all find an equal anywhere else in this or in another universe. And precisely, this represents an immense danger to the existence of many races, because if the Earth humans becomes master of space traveling technology and visits foreign worlds, and through the force of arms or by lies and deception strikes them into his spell, he will also inevitably thereby involve his religion-spreading delusion. If this actually happens someday, then the single or multiple religions will very quickly reach a form of system-wide or galaxy-wide dissemination by which the still existing galactic harmony could be destroyed. This means that through these irrational teachings of religions, the still ensured peace could be destroyed and degenerate into murderous wars and the complete destruction of entire suns or planetary systems. Preventing this, however, is the greatest and most difficult task faced by those space-traveling life forms with a higher consciousness-related development. Therein lies also the deepest reason for the fact that we and others from other planets strive to spread the truth on Earth by selecting individual Earth humans and, through telepathic impulses which they generally do not recognize as such, convey the truth to them, which they then should disseminate so as to finally teach the goodness and the truth to the Earth humans. Okay. I'm going to pause. I'm going to actually stop it here, and this has been an hour. We'll get on to the next piece. This is the end of, I think, the third one. I don't know. We'll get back.